What's up idols, it's Cece Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. This isn't going to be one of my funny storytime type of videos. I know on this channel we do mostly story times. If you feel like that's what you want to see, then I encourage you to watch the video I just uploaded. We did 3 stories in one video, including a Tinder creep who begged for sex, spy cams at a jjimjilbang, and an Airbnb scam in Seoul. So check that out. This is going to be something different. Also, if you hear noises, it is raining cats and dogs. Look at this. Literally raining sideways. For this video, as much as I like Korea, I have a whole channel about it. You know, Korea isn't my whole life. I don't live there anymore. I don't think about Korea, K-pop, and all that stuff every day, but it's a part of my life. Like, it's the first foreign country I lived in abroad. I was there for over 3 years of my life, and I go back every year with the exception of this year and COVID. But sorry, as much as I like Korea, there are just so many things I will never understand about Korea. And again, I know a lot of you guys will be like, oh, but it's their culture. You gotta respect it. If you don't like it, you can leave. I even got that BS about racism in Seoul. Late last week I did a video. It was a 2-in-1 story time. One was about a girl who was going on a job interview to be a teacher and some racism she experienced in Korea. And another was a girl who was clubbing and about to hook up with a guy and some racism she experienced in Korea. People were saying to respect their culture and that's just how they do things and it is what it is, it's their country. Yet last year I remember BTS went to the White House and he spoke up about the anti-Asian hate and all that stuff, which as they should. I'm not saying that that's okay or should be allowed. What I'm saying is they acknowledge that it's not okay. So for some of these people saying it's only okay if it happens in Korea by Koreans against foreigners, I'm allowed to criticize things that need to change. I do it all the time with my home country, the United States of stupidity. Today's video unfortunately was inspired by the passing of actor Lee Sun-kyun. Most of you guys probably know him as the rich dad in Parasite. For those who don't know, in October of this year, there was an investigation into him for alleged drug use. And because of the accusation, he had to drop out of a project coming up. It's a series called No Way Out. On October 24th, he was charged with the suspicion of cannabis use and psychoactive drugs. He was summoned for questioning and then given a travel ban advising that he was not allowed to leave the country. Now, the crazy thing is the first test they gave him, it was like a hair test and it tested negative. So there was no drugs in his system. And last month in November, through his lawyer, he asked if he could take a lie detector test. And the complaint is that it was unfair to be accused of drug use in a situation where there is only Mr. A's testament and no physical evidence. Yet they didn't exactly name the person who accused him because they get to be anonymous in Korean law. Yet Lee Sun-kyun's name was made public. I find it interesting that being accused of using these types of substances is a more harsh crime and punishment and more likely to be prosecuted than violent crimes against women like rape, assault, murder, stalking. But yeah, so I don't know if y'all remember this, but in October suddenly there was this big, every news outlet was talking about this big A-list Korean celebrity drug ring going on. GD from Big Bang fell into it, even Chaewon from Le Sserafim. There was a G-Idol member accused. I don't remember which one. If y'all do, please let me know in the comments. I can't remember which member it was. But of course there was no evidence and none of these charges actually seem to have gone anywhere. And I don't want to get too tinfoily and too conspiratory, but like the timing of this coincides with some governmental things that maybe they didn't want the media to talk about. And I found this article full of tea and I'm going to spill it. I'll leave a link below if you want to read it for yourself. This article I found incredibly interesting. It was posted on November 10th. On October 19th, an article went online with the title "Top Star L Under Investigation on Drug Charges." Not long after, L was identified as actor Lee Sun-kyun. Which again, why was his name made public when you have people accused of rape and murder and assault who we don't ever know their identities? 9 days after the report, E appeared at the Nonhyun police station in Incheon on October 28th. It was the first time he'd been seen since the drug use allegations had been made public. He took a drug test which came out negative. He is alleged to have used narcotics at the home of the manager at a nightlife business. He also filed an extortion complaint against the manager in question, claiming he was threatened into handing over around 350 million won, or about 268,000 US dollars. On October 28th, singer GD of the group Big Bang was booked on drug use charges. Through his lawyer, he asserted that he had never used narcotics. He was scheduled to appear for questioning. Incidents of drug use by entertainers have been recently drawn major attention, with the numerous big names at the center of the scandal. There have also been many instances of fake news and unverified lists of entertainers on drugs circulating. The situation has spread to affect the political world as well. In a September 21st Facebook post, Democratic Party deputy spokesperson Lee Kyung asked, "Are they trying to cover things over with articles about celebrities using drugs?" The daughter of Secretary Kim Seung-hee, a Korea University Executive Program classmate of First Lady Kim Kon-hee, is a perpetrator of school bullying who inflicted injuries requiring 9 weeks of treatment, she continued. People are demanding that President Yoon Suk-yeol take responsibility for pardoning and reinstating Kim Tae-woo and having him run in the election for the leader of Seoul's Gangseol district office. Yet those stories are being covered over with allegations of drug use by actor Lee Sun-kyun. In an October 26 appearance on the YTN radio program, News King Park Ji-hoon, Democratic Party lawmaker An Min-seok said, "I have to wonder if I'm reading too much into things, and it's all just a coincidence that the celebrity drug use is blowing up at a time when the administration is in crisis. It's the sort of timing that can give rise to the misunderstanding that somebody may have intended or orchestrated it," he said, while adding that he had no basis for making such claims. So yeah, this whole article, it's a really long article. I will link it below if you want to read the rest of it, but it goes back years and decades about, oh, this singer was accused of doing this during 1997, and then it coincides with some government shit in 1997. So yeah, the timing of these allegations with no proof is, what is it, Cardi?
Suspicious.
Even Kwon Ji-young, aka GD from Big Bang, recently donated to these anti-drug organizations, and the media had to apologize for him because of the allegations they put out there with no evidence. I don't know if they thought because back in 2011, he was caught smoking weed. Maybe they thought he'd be an easy target to bring back up and add to this ring. And then when you look at actors like UIN and the former Winner member Nam Tae-hyun, who also have drug-related scandals and issues. Now, I'm not saying that I ever condone or support or encourage the use of drugs. I'm just saying drugs are usually the symptom of a greater problem. Nobody who's happy just decides to start using drugs. You do have those people who are curious at a party, or somebody might, like in the States for example, it's a big problem where somebody could be in a bad car accident and they fuck up their bag and the doctor prescribes them medicine and they get addicted through that way. That's also a thing, but a lot of the times people do it when they feel empty, when they feel numb, when they don't want to feel anything because they feel too much. Like depression and anxiety and stress and all these expectations that Korean society has, nobody talks about it. And I'm not saying it's just Korea's problem with drugs. Like in the US, there was the 80s crack epidemic. Now there's an opioid issue. And a lot of the world, especially post-COVID, have become dependent on drugs. But you cannot ignore the fact that people in Korea are driven to suicide higher than just about any other place in the world. They always like to gloss over these serious issues instead of having a deeper, needed conversation. For example, all they talk about these days is the rapidly declining birth rate in Korea. I shit you not. They have this incentive program where they're trying to incentivize men to reverse their vasectomies, and they think that's gonna make people start having babies again. They don't want to talk about why people aren't having kids anymore, why they don't want to have kids anymore. Instead of acknowledging social problems between men and women, the pay gap, feminist rebellion, women wanting equality and men fighting them back, literally physically fighting them back for it.
A man in South Korea has been arrested for a late-night attack on a female convenience store worker after thinking she was a feminist. CCTV footage showed the man in his 20s entering the store in the southeastern city of Jeonju after midnight and punching and kicking the woman. He also assaulted another customer, in his 50s, who tried to intervene. Police said he had attacked the woman because she had short hair, and so assumed she was a feminist. "Since you have short hair, you must be a feminist. I'm a male chauvinist, and I think feminists deserve to be assaulted," he told her, according to the police. He continued his assault until he was stopped by police who arrived on the scene. Authorities said he had been in a drunken state and was previously diagnosed and treated for schizophrenia. Among economically advanced countries, South Korea is frequently ranked as one of the worst for working women. With poor gender equality, anti-feminist feeling has also increased in recent years, particularly among young men who feel they have been disadvantaged by reverse discrimination. Women with short hair have been the target of attacks before in South Korea, where many misogynistic commentators associate the hairstyle with feminism, a term that has been equated with being a man-hater.
Not to mention the economics of it all. It is expensive to raise a child, and it takes time to raise a child. Koreans already work an average of 52 hours a week, and there's been talks, I don't think it's going to actually happen, but there's been talks to increase that to 69 hours a week of working. I wish I was making that up. Who's gonna raise these kids? Who has time? Who has money to raise these kids? And because of the pay gap, women can't raise their kids alone. They can't afford to. Sorry, I got off track. But my point is, it doesn't surprise me that people turn to drugs in issues like this because they can't openly talk about their mental health issues and their personal anxieties and worries and financials and success, and you can't talk about it. Instead, Koreans just say, 힘내세요, 화이팅. I just feel like Korea needs to recalibrate their priorities. Lee Sun-kyun tested negative, and I know he admitted to like snorting what he thought was sleeping pills or claimed to have thought was sleeping pills, and people dragged him for that and said he was stupid, yada yada. And this was literally a few days ago, and he just died like yesterday. Yet he was still given a ban from traveling. He was still under investigation. His name was out there, everything. He looked bad in the public eye, and that's a non-violent crime. Like I said, I don't condone people who do drugs, but if it's you're not hurting anyone else, why is that taken more seriously than when people harm each other? For example, if my memory serves me correctly, there was an 80-something-year-old man who raped an 80-something-year-old woman, and because of his age, the police said he's not a flight risk, he can go home, he's fine, he's old, he can't hurt anybody. Oh wait, okay, I found it. A media report showed that local police did not arrest an 80-something-year-old man of rape and left him unsupervised, citing that he was very old and is not a flight risk. The suspect, whose identity was withheld by authorities, is accused of attacking a woman in her 80s in her apartment in Nonsan, South Chungcheon Province on June 2nd. The victim's son saw the attack, overpowered the suspect, turning him over to the police where they were called to the scene. Despite apprehending the suspect, police did not arrest him and sent him home after questioning him at the scene. Considering the suspect's age and that his place of residence was known to authorities, officials decided he posed no threat of fleeing. Why is an actor who is accused of using drugs but tests negative for the drugs a flight risk, but an 80-something-year-old man who was caught raping a woman is not? If he has the strength and ability to assault a woman in her home, I think he can walk on a plane if he wants to. It's just hearing news like that right after Christmas and right before we're about to welcome a new year. It's heartbreaking. UIN is one of my favorite Korean actors, and I wonder if he should be put on like suicide watch or something, because this is what they do. They put out, like, why do we know the celebrities' names when they're accused of committing a crime, but the average everyday people, we don't know what they look like, we don't know who they are, we don't get to know their names to protect ourselves? Why is this 80-something-year-old man who did what he did, we don't know what he looked like, we don't know his name, he's out there somewhere still? But now Lee Sun-kyun is dead because they put his name out there after he tested negative and just tarnished his name and his reputation for being accused of using drugs. Again, not harming anyone else, but that's taken more seriously than violent crimes in Korea. Now, I've talked in depth before about like the stats of it all with like crimes against women and the rate of prosecution. If you guys want to see that, I won't bore you with the stats again, but you can check that video out. And I've talked about this a few times on my channel, and while you're at it, if you like that first video, you might want to check this one out too. I just wonder that after all this speculated, oh, this was just put out there to cover up what the government's doing, I wonder if the media and law enforcement and the politics of Korea are happy right now.